something around.
Come on.
Oh, it's right here.
Ooh, this. Holy smokes, look at that. What in the world? That's crazy looking. Well, hey folks, my name is Brad. If you happen to be new to my videos, I explore the mountains of Vermont searching for treasure with my metal detector. And today I find myself invited by my new friend Cooper up into the White Mountains of New Hampshire, standing in front of an old home foundation from the end of the 1700s. Now, a little added detail about this particular property is sometime over the last 100 years or so, this pristine mountain farm was partitioned off and they built a major highway right on the other side of those trees. So we're going to be hearing some traffic noise today, but it just makes for a bit of a unique experience, seemingly up here in the wilderness, but also hearing tractor trailers drive by right on the other side of those trees. Now, if this happens to be one of the first of my videos that you've seen, I publish one of these every single Friday. So if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that subscribe button or just come on back next week. We're gonna get the metal detectors turned on and see what we can find. In the ferns, we've got an 81. What have we got here? Well, it appears as though we have an old coin here. Judging by how crude the circle shape is and how thin it is, it seems as though it's more than likely going to be British. But you know, one of the most common questions I get is, how do you clean these old coins? Unfortunately, there is no cleaning a coin like this. As we spray it and get some of the mud off, it does not seem as though there's much design at all. Sometimes I can make out something that might resemble a bust, perhaps a British king, but it is very, very smooth on one side, and the other side doesn't seem as though there's going to be any design on that side either. But as I said, based on the way it looks, it seems as though it's more than likely British, and this would have been legal tender here in the United States all the way up until the end of the 1850s. Always a little bit disappointing when you find a really old coin and you can't even tell what the heck it is, but that is just unfortunately the nature of finding copper coins in the ground. Silver coins and even gold coins will come out of the ground beautiful, oftentimes without even any tarnish on them, but the copper ones don't last, unfortunately. Great find, it's for sure an old coin, but hopefully we will find some more today that look a little nicer. This kind of sounds like trash, but we'll see. 88. Wow, not trash. Nice. Ooh, that's a teeny tiny one. So it must have sounded complex and confusing because of that iron pin that's still in the loop, but that's an awesome find. Little chrotal bell, little jingle bell. Doesn't look like it's gonna have any initials on it, but beautiful find. Well, there is, I think, probably sheet metal all over here, but this one little particular spot, there's just a squeak of a 99. Probably junk, but we're gonna check it out. I think it's just all nails. What's this? What? That is awesome. Well, I love finding old coins and buttons and buckles, obviously, but because of the way I have my metal detector set up, I typically don't find a whole lot of iron because I'm trying to avoid digging up nails and junk all day. But every once in a while, a piece of iron will shoot out a high tone on the metal detector and I'll find something like this and be super, super grateful that it happened that way. This seems to be an old vise. Probably down here at the bottom, this would have pivoted. This would have perhaps screwed into a wooden workbench, and then you could have tightened something down to the workbench to work on it. Likely woodworking, I would guess. It has this beautiful design up at the top where you would twist it to tighten it down or loosen it off. As I said, it's pretty rare for me to find old iron hand tools just because of the nature of the metal itself. But I'm always very excited to find things like hatchet heads or hammer heads or even chisels. Very rare for me to find something so mechanical like this. Looks like with enough WD-40 we might even get it working again. Maybe not. All right, we have a beautiful target here. Very exciting. 92, 94. Just about as high as it goes. It's in my hand. It is not round, it's octagonal. Well, when I first dug this thing up, I was pretty stumped. Honestly, at first I thought that it was a dog tax tag, given the octagonal shape. But as we spray it off here, you can actually make out some details, some lettering, as well as some imagery. The imagery is a wreath, which I recognize as the back of a United States large cent. And I cannot really make out any details on the bust side, but I'm fairly certain, given the design of the wreath, that it is a very early large cent, very early 1800s, potentially even the end of the 1700s. Now, the coolest part about this old large cent is that somebody took the time and clipped the edges of it to make it octagonal. Now, why would they do that? Who knows? But manipulated large cents like this are not uncommon. I have seen them turned into pie crimpers, spur wheels, even children's toys. What this one's intended use for, I'm not sure we could ever know. Perhaps just a gaming token, maybe even just a good luck token. But the fact that somebody took the time to make it look like this takes it from an exciting old coin to a really unique personal item. And for me, so far, for sure, the find of the day. Awesome, awesome find. Let me know what you think their intended purpose for this old coin was. I'm going with gaming token. Incredible. What you got? Holy smokes, that's awesome. When you're walking over here, I thought that it was going to be like a clock gear, but it's not a gear at all. Well, Cooper said that he found this awesome find underneath a big flat rock, and at least twice today I found targets underneath flat rocks and gave up trying to move them and walked on. I have to wonder if maybe this was one of them. But what we have here, what I initially thought maybe was a gear or a pulley, Cooper actually researched it on his phone out here in the woods, and it seems as though it's one of the wheels to an old 1800s child's toy. Now, finding children's toys up in the mountains, in the woods, is pretty rare for me. I have found a few lead figures. Every once in a while we'll find a coin that has some holes in it that they put on strings and used as whizzing toys. But what Cooper found here is a variation I have never found before. It seems to be a little pull toy. It was on a string. You know, it tells us that this was a home. There was a family here with at least one child, and they were dragging a little wagon toy around this property. Obviously the 1800s were a different time. Would the kids have had as many toys as kids have today? Most certainly not. Hopefully this kid had more than his one wagon, or else he would have had to wait till Christmas time to get another toy. Super cool, found under a rock. I wonder how it got there. Awesome, awesome find. Well, down under this tree and bush, we've got an 84. See if we can get it out of there. Oh, what's this? Man, I'm finding a lot of like mystery solid brass items at this place. Well, we have our first mystery find of the day here at this old foundation, and when I found the first one, I looked it over. It seems decorative. It's nice solid brass, maybe a piece of furniture or something. Pretty stumped. Threw it in my bag and kept on going. Circled around a few times, came back, and wouldn't you know it, I found another piece of the same thing. So here I am wondering once again what the heck it could be. As I said, it does seem decorative. It has these lines running down it. There seems to be 4 fastener holes towards the top. I'm assuming fastened to wood, but I suppose it could also be fastened to leather, like for a saddle, for example. Totally stumped. But they lost 2 of them, and one of them is catastrophically broken. So perhaps that's a clue. Let me know what you think about this one. At first I thought maybe it was a corner to one of these old trunks. Oftentimes they would have protective metal pieces on the corners. I'm not so sure that's what it is. A total mystery. Maybe one of you will be able to solve it. Well, there is an adjacent field here. Well, there's several fields, but this one that we have the side-by-side parked in, we're going to try metal detecting for a little while because Cooper has found things here in the past from 1850s, 1860s. So let's check it out. Really loud 88. Nice high tone. No way. Awesome. Well, as far as I understand it, Cooper and his family actually cleared this field not too long ago. It was all forest and they turned it into this field. Yet, Cooper in the past has found quite a few things from the Civil War time in this field. So we decided to give it a shot. Despite the heat, it is over 90 degrees today. You can probably tell I am sweating just sitting here. But it was worth bearing the heat because what we have here is a wonderful little coin. I love finding large cents and silver US coins, but some of these obscure short run coins are some of my favorites, like the 3-cent coin, like this 2-cent coin. As we spray it off here, we can see the shield at the very bottom. There is the date. I believe we can make it out. I think it's 1864. The other side, of course, we can see the number 2. Now, these 2-cent coins were actually made out of a fairly different alloy than the other copper coins of the time, so they tend to stand up to the elements a little bit better than the pennies do. Awesome coin. Like I said, these more obscure coins, the 2-cent, 3-cent, the 20-cent, are by far my favorite because they are quite a bit more rare to find. But it's always a surprise expecting to see, you know, like a nickel or a penny and seeing the big 2 looking back at you. I am not sure how much longer we are going to stay in this field. Happen to catch a little bit of shade right now, but it is a day to be in the woods, for sure. Awesome find. Spend a little bit more time here in this field. Let's see what else we can find. All right, too hot in the field. Back into the woods. Back into the woods around the foundation. This is just a 72. It's a little brass disc. Is it a button or a coin? I think it's a coin, and I think I know which one. Well, it appears as though we have another old coin here, this time a small cent. And I can tell, based on how thick it is, that it's going to be something special. Honestly, it can only be one of 2 things, either a flying eagle cent or what we would call a fatty Indian head cent, which is a very early dated Indian head cent. As we spray it off here, it is covered in verdigris, so I'm gonna have to scrape a little bit of this off with my fingernail, and what we end up with is actually a pretty nice image on the back here where it says 1 cent, and as we flip it over we can just barely make out the Indian headdress of the Indian head cent. So because of how thick this is, it really reduces the date range to only 1859 to 1864, landing this coin right in the same time frame as a lot of the other things that we're finding at this place, 1850s, 1860s. And you know, it's worth pointing out that the United States had just abandoned using the big large cents, moving to these smaller cent designs, and they were this thick for quite a few years before they changed to the size that they actually are today. Really cool little window into a small time in history. Again, I wish it was in better condition, but we can tell what it is, and I'm happy about that. All right, I've got a beautiful target here, 94, sometimes all the way up to the high 90s. 96. So this, it's another one.
Another one of those things?
Another Jingle Bell.
Oh.
Awesome. Yeah, this one sounded way better because it doesn't have the iron pin going through. Same one, or same style, plated. Beauty. Whole strap's probably out here.
Oh, not a can. Something around.
Come on.
Big and round.
How big?
Bringing up 70s, 80s. Oh, it's right here.
Ooh, this. Holy smokes, look at that. What in the world? I think I know what that is. That's crazy looking. Well, this thing that Cooper just found is incredible. Maybe the nicest bridal rosette I have ever seen. Oftentimes these rosettes that went on the bridle of a horse are just flat, plain brass. And actually a couple months ago, I found my first ever glass bridal rosette. I did not know what it was at the time. It had some script letters underneath the glass, but it turns out it was a bridal rosette. But this bridal rosette, which also has some glass on it, is way cooler. You can see here in the center, there's this giant glass lens, and behind the glass, it seems like perhaps it was silver plated back there, but some of the silver plating has deteriorated. But the glass itself seems to be yellow or perhaps light green. Now, we really don't know a whole lot about this foundation. It's very likely they were here in the 1700s, way up until maybe even the early 1900s. When this particular bridal rosette is from, I'm gonna guess the 1800s, but like I said, I've never seen one anything like it. Absolutely gorgeous bridal rosette. Super unique. All right, folks, well, that's gonna do it for both Cooper and I today. And it was 95 degrees today, out in the field at least. In the woods, it's a little bit cooler, but it was pretty brutal. Despite that, we found some awesome stuff. A whole bunch of old coins. My favorite probably being that old large cent that somebody clipped into an octagon shape. Bunch of buckles, a button, this incredible old horse bridal rosette that Cooper found, and also another one of Cooper's finds, this children's toy wheel. Metal detecting here, hearing that road noise all day, it really makes me wonder what treasures they covered up when they built that highway. Fortunately, we'll probably never know. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and hopefully you'll join me next Friday for another new adventure somewhere up in the mountains of perhaps New Hampshire, but probably Vermont. Thanks again.